Welcome everybody. My name is Mayumi Lashbrook, and I am I'm gonna get my title wrong, the artistic producer and curator of this year's Porch View Dances. And this is Allen Kaeja as well as Karen Kaeja, and they will come on and speak as well. But I just wanted to welcome everybody to the space and say thanks for being here, and we're here to help and guide your questions about the Porch View Dances called Choreographers. I'm going to hand it over to Allen.
Thank you. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is to share screen and play a video that was created for Porch View a number of years ago by Jim Adams.
Kumikque, the earth, has always been here. Turtle Island, Mother Earth, the great blue ball. It is not important how you describe her or how you might believe we got here. All of our creation stories are true. The earth does not need us, but we very much need her. No one can use, hurt, damage, or ignore the earth without consequences. The old ones, the elders, and the traditional knowledge keepers kindly share stories with us that tell of these times of neglect and intentioned ignorance. They remind us of what happened at those times, and indeed what may happen again if we fail to listen. We have our original instructions that gently spoke of our relationships with the winged ones, the four-leggeds, the creepy crawlers, the swimmers, the unseen and the seen, and indeed with each other. Some have forgotten these words, some have not heard them, some have willingly ignored them. It is time to gently remind them again of these instructions and of the four original gifts each of us received as we were lovingly lowered onto the turtle's back. The gifts of kindness, strength, honesty, and caring. We are accountable for our words and actions. We can no longer say, "I did not know." The sky, the earth, the fire, the water, and all creation are telling us to be aware. The mother still breathes under the concrete, steel, and glass. The mitig, the trees still grow. The bish, the water still flows. The words of the treaties still hold true. The sun still shines, the water still flows, and the grass still grows. The dish with one spoon is still honored. Those whose lands we live on are remembered with love and respect. All my relations.
There you go, Mayumi. Mayumi, you take it from here, and then we'll go to the trailer from 2018.
Sounds good. Thank you. That was a way of us acknowledging the space and time that we are landing in together in this moment. So thank you for being here. Part of how it will run today is that we will have a couple things we chat through, and then we'll open up the space for questions. So at any time you can have camera on or off, you can unmute and ask a question, or you can ask a question in the chat. And we will have Karen Kaeja as well monitoring the chat. So if you don't want it to be public, you can also message Karen directly for any questions or support. And today is a way of just acknowledging who's here and sharing this time together. I thought it'd be a fun way to acknowledge each other, to write in the chat. You can say your name, pronoun, and the silly prompt that I have today is, what kind of dessert do you feel like today? I can acknowledge that I feel like a chocolate chip cookie, like very solid, sturdy, very, yeah, classic. So if you feel like acknowledging where you're at through the chat, please feel free to do that now or anytime as we chat today. And I will, oh, beautiful. Hi, Diane. Lovely to have you here. And Diane says that they are feeling like dark chocolate.
But that's always.
An undercurrent
Almost
of dark
unchanged.
chocolate.
Sorry, yeah. Lemon meringue sometimes, but dark chocolate mostly.
I love that. And I believe it's Karen, one of the cages has said carrot cake. Yes. And Janiki has said she, her, custard tart. Yes, so good. Well, I have 2 carrot cakes. And Angela says she, her, and I'm feeling like a hojicha mochi right now, soft and squishy. Oh, hojicha is my morning tea, so I probably have a bit of that in my chocolate chip cookie too. And Diane says she, her as well. And Vanessa says tres leches. I also realized, my apologies, I forgot to introduce Jessica, who is also here to support. So if you need anything, please let her know. She's written in the chat as well. She's the marketing and social media coordinator for Kaeja to Dance. And she's feeling like a banana split. I love that. Very fun. Beautiful. I will hand back to Allen.
Thank you. So I'm just going to show you a short trailer of Porch View Dances from 2018. We are moving into our 13th year of Porch View Dances, which is just so exciting. And then once we watch this, I'm going to pass it to Allen Kaeja, who's going to talk about the origins of Porch View Dances. Here we go. I think this is the same one. I'm sorry, just one second. My screen sharing is having lots of fun. Just going to say desktop. Can you see the Porch View Dances? Mayumi? Yeah? Okay.
Good evening and welcome to the award-winning Porch View Dances!
all yours.
That's a really beautiful trailer. I feel choked up watching it. Yeah. Thank you, Alan. So I am Karen, she, her, and if you want to see any other trailers on our website on the Porch View Dances pages, there are trailers from every year that are highlights of the festival that year. There is one for last year as well, 2023. This festival began with a seed in my mind, as any other art project does. And it occurred during a meeting that I was in, that we were in with our staff in our home living room, which is where our office was pre-pandemic. And we were talking about budget, and I found myself being lulled by it. I started looking out the window and watching the activity that was occurring across the street. And I started imagining, what if this interaction that was happening on their porch turned into a dance? And if there was a choreographic lens on that dance, shaping it to become something that revealed a story of what goes on in the home and spills out onto the porch in the front yard, and reveals itself to an audience. So I quickly turned back into to the meeting and interrupted it, and sort of spilled out this idea. And quite honestly, we all really loved it and decided to apply for grants. And as you know, some grants come, some grants don't. This particular one did, and it helped us foray into this beautiful festival that is now going into its 13th year. So that's a little bit about how it started, or where that seed came from. We launched the festival in 2012. The first decade was a matching of choreographers to families that lived in the Seaton Village area. And so we would have families apply and choreographers apply, and we would do this wonderful matching game during 3 meetings, till it found its way, till the families and choreographers found their way to each other with decision. That went for 10 years in that way. And then in 2020, with the pandemic pivot, we decided to ask the choreographers from the past if they would like to make 1-minute films of who they are, what they are in their home at the moment. And so we did that. Those were really beautiful. And we did an online flock landing with it as well. And we had lots and lots of viewers. And then in 2021, we asked Michael Caldwell, who was a choreographer for Porch View Dances in over many years, and also in some of the other areas that we've done Porch View Dances in Etobicoke and Ottawa and Kitchener and some different places. And we asked him to curate that Porch View Dances and also to be the artistic producer. And so the theme was home, and Michael invited the choreographers to bring participants with them into their application, meaning he had these people, the choreographers would already have an idea of how many folks they wanted, and where they might be able to find them from their own cachet of people that they know that were not specifically pro dancers or dance students. And so this continued into 2022, where we did some online and some in person. And then we went fully in person last year in 2023, where Sophie Guidino was our artistic producer, and Sophie and Sid Ryan Eilers were co-curators. And we continued with the idea that choreographers would bring people they know into the fold as the performers. And here we are now in our 13th year, where we've invited the wonderful Mayumi Lashbrook, yay, to be our artistic producer and curator of the festival. I will leave you with that for the moment.
Thank you, Karen. And I was asked to give just a couple of anecdotes about what it's like working with regular everyday people on other people's porches, whether it's their own or other people's. And so Karen and I, in the first 9 years, were part of the choreographic team. And now we have other roles in the festival, which we're very thrilled with. But for us, working with people is so beautiful and at the same time so incredibly unpredictable. So I'm going to share with you just two really quick ones. The first one, in our very first year, we had a mother-son pair, and about 4 weeks before the festival, I'd begun rehearsals. She calls me up and she goes, "Allen, I'm so sorry, but I can't dance for the festival." And I said, "What happened? What's wrong?" She broke her ankle. And she said, "I can't walk." And I said, "That is perfect. We're going to work with you on crutches." The piece ended up being called Crutches. Actually, the week before the festival opened, she called me and said, "Hey, my cast is off. I can walk again." I said, "Oh, no, you can't. You got to put the cast back on." The whole piece is created with unicast and crutches. And it was beautiful. It was just beautiful piece. And they ended up performing a number of times in the festival in other pieces. But one other example is that I had one individual approach me and said, "I have my whole family, everyone's ready to participate and be involved." I said, "Amazing." I show up for rehearsals and the person who invited me is really sad. And she goes, "Allen, nobody wants to do it. It's just me." And I said, "Brilliant. Okay, well, let's start." And we started rehearsals that day, and one of her children walked out of the house. And I said, "Oh, hi, how are you? You know, I'm Allen, blah, blah, blah. Could I ask you, do you mind just doing something for me?" And the child did. And literally by the end of that rehearsal, the child said, "Can I invite a friend?" I said, "Absolutely." Next rehearsal, the husband walks out. I didn't know he was a runner. He's a runner. And I said, "You know what? I love running. Can we integrate this into the piece?" Before you knew it, his sister was involved. I had a whole house community of people. So I just went instinctually with what was going on. And in the end, it was absolutely beautiful. And the whole family was involved, and extended family and friends and whatnot. So those are a couple of my anecdotes.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, I think that gives some insights into what is so unique and special about Porch View Dances, and therefore some of the things that we're really looking for in the application. So I will take us into the application process. Just bear with me as I screen share. Okay. So the application, if you were to go to kaeja.org, this is the main page you'll see, and you can see that okay? That's okay, great. And you would just simply scroll down, and the very first sort of post there is the Porch View Dances call to choreographers, and you can press learn more. And that's going to give you all the information about what we're looking for from the call to choreographers. So right up at the top here is the way to apply. This is our info session, which we are on now. Thanks for coming. And then as you scroll down, there's more details about the application deadlines, the selection committee, and you can scroll through all this information. I'm not going to go into wild detail about it, but some things that I did want to point out are the dates that are really important. So right at the top there, the application deadline is February 29th. The festival runs from July 17th to the 21st. And then scrolling further down, these are different things that are coming up throughout the process. So the top dates you see there are the porch rehearsals. So they will run from June 1st to July 14th. The technical rehearsals, July 15th. The dress rehearsal is July 16th. And then we head into shows from there. So the 17th to the 21st. And then slightly farther down, we have in-person meetings here. So the first in-person meeting is for all the choreographers to meet that are selected. That's Saturday, April 6th from 11 till 12:30. And then we have our tech rehearsal with all the choreographers, dancers, and performance info. Sorry, there we go. From 6:30 to 8 on July 3rd. Both of those dates, you can see there's an asterisk right beside them. And it just means that please don't not apply if you're available or unavailable for those dates. They are something that we could negotiate in your contracts or have another time to meet with you. So if any of those dates are posing an issue for you scheduling wise, please let us know. And we would be open to shifting them. The July 17th, just to note that is our first performance date, and it is required for choreographers to be there that date to continue after the show to have a post-show discussion where all the production team comes together, all the artistic team comes together, and we really just debrief on how it went and what things might have to change. And there may be more meetings as things come up. So we've listed there as that there may be up to 3 more meetings to be determined if needed. And then lastly, the fun one, closing party on July 21st after the last show at 4 p.m. And I've probably missed a couple other dates, so I'm just going to check my notes really quickly. Yes, so part of the application that it's listed on the application, so you'll see it there. But that you will receive notifications on the application by March 31st. Either way, we want to make sure that you have an answer. So know that that will be the last point in time that you would hear from us if you haven't heard earlier. And that we will be holding the curatorial discussions from March 11th to 16th. That's also on the application, and I will get there. But those are the things I really wanted to highlight date-wise from the top. So let's dive into the application form itself. So I would click here, apply online via Google form. And there's a couple different ways that we're receiving applications. We wanted to make it as available as possible. That being said, if one of the options we've given doesn't work for you, you can always let us know and we're open to receiving them a different way. But right at the top here, I have listed a couple ways that you can apply. So you could fill in this form. The form itself takes either written, audio, or video submissions. You could email me directly and put it in the body of the email, or there is a downloadable Word document here that you could fill that in and email it to me. And last option that we've had listed is to schedule a phone call with me and I could receive your application that way. So again, trying to be as flexible as possible. That being said, the form allows for 2 different methods of submission, so you don't need to do duplicates. It's that you pick one direction and then fill it in that way. It also speaks here about sort of the main ideas that we're really looking for through the application. So some of the curiosities that I have as a curator and have narrowed down that we're looking for to match with Porch View Dances is idea, content, and participants. Within these 3 areas, I thought would be helpful is to name sort of a sample, silly, albeit, application example. So I'm going to say that the example is, I have an idea about creating a dance about cheese. So in this case, if my idea is about cheese, that's where I'm really going to speak to idea. And then content-wise, why is this idea important now? I would speak to what it is about cheese that is like really relevant, either to me as a choreographer, as a human, or in the grand scheme of things, whether that be like the dance world or the cheese lovers of the world or whatever that looks like, that you're speaking to why is it relevant in this moment. So an example could be, that I've just recently found out that I'm lactose intolerant, and that's why it feels really relevant to speak to cheese right now. And then that third element is participants. So who will you be working with? And that element could look like, I'm really interested in connecting with people who also have an affinity for cheese, but are lactose intolerant, and they're community members. They're people who are really excited by this thought. And I've connected with a couple of them through a blog, or I don't know, however you've come in contact with them can be helpful to name as well. So that's kind of some fun ways to consider what those ideas are. So through the application, we're just going to scroll through. You can see what is required. So anything with that red asterisk required, anything else you don't have to share, but you're welcome to. So we have name, pronouns, phone number, address, email address. If you have a website, you're welcome to share that. Same thing with any social media handles. And then that first question is really about bio. You can see here that you can add a file, and the suggested amount is 1 page to 250 or 200 to 500 words. And in my example of cheese, that might be a great place for me to say, I'm lactose intolerant. I've been working in site-specific dances for 5 years or one dance. And it's a great place to really tell us who you are, what your experience is, both as a choreographer and in site-specific work and in working with community members. Anything else that you think is really notable about who you are. Everybody is so unique and special, so don't downplay how great and fantastic you are. Tell us as openly and blatantly as you can. We're here to be excited about who you are. Then you can see 2 questions here about idea. So the first one, you'll notice it says your answer, and that's where you could do it as a written option. And you'll see also it says written option, and then option, or the second question there says file upload option, and you can see that it says add file. So both of those are the exact same question. It's just how you want to submit it. So that's up to you to decide. And yeah, this is, as I spoke about with my cheese idea, that this is where I'm really trying to portray what it is that I'm excited about creating, and what draws me to putting that in Porch View Dances. And then moving on to participants. Oh, I have a question. Yes, go for it. Raga, go ahead. You can unmute yourself and let me know.
Hi, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I just have one question about the previous section, like where bio was required.
Yep.
So you mentioned like it'd be great to add your experience with community-based projects, etc., right? So as a dancer, I have the experience, but I am really interested to do community-based projects. But if this is my first time working in this kind of a project, is it still okay to apply, or is this only for experienced candidates? I just wanted to know.
That's a wonderful question. Thank you for asking. It is open to any level of experience. If you haven't had the opportunity to choreograph something in a site-specific manner, that writing there about what it is that you're driven by or what you're excited about in the opportunity to work in a site-specific manner, that's a great place to talk about it. What are your curiosities, or what are some of the ways you might explore being site-specific? That would be a wonderful place to do it. And yes, it's very open to any experience level.
Okay. When you say site-specific, do you mind stating an example? I'm so sorry if it's a dumb question.
No, not at all. Absolutely. All questions are welcomed. I think Karen also had something to say. Do you want to pop in first, Karen, and speak?
Yeah, I just want to say about that as well. It might be good for you to let us know so that when we're reading your material, we'll know that you haven't had whatever experiences regarding either working in sites other than a theater or indoor dance floor. And if you haven't had experience working with non-dancer community folks, it's just good for us to know. And you could also note that you might love to be mentored through that process. That's also something that we are open to doing. And definitely I would add, like, what is it that excites you about wanting to do that if you haven't done it before? You could add extra words, it's okay.
Okay.
Totally. I think you'd also asked about what makes it site specific. And that's one of the beautiful things about Porch View Dances, is that we're not using a stage that has a delineated space. And so site specific really responds to being in a unique space that isn't a stage, or isn't a conventional stage, perhaps. So a great example is that there are stairs. Oh, yes, I see you, Allen. That there are stairs on each porch. That can you use the stairs as part of the movement? And that's a very simple example, but that the rising up and the up and down of going on the stairs can be part of your like progression in your explorations. Or I'm not sure if that really made sense. Let's see if I have another example. Oh, here's one that like if there was a tree at the front of the house that had a swing on it, that you use the swing to really have a moment as like a child, that there's something really childlike about swinging on a swing, and that could be built into your ideas, and be responsive to that site. Again, very simple
Yeah,
example, but yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
And
I might
sorry,
oh,
may I also suggest,
Yeah.
if you go onto our website, go onto the Porch View Dances page, we have trailers from every year, and some of them are wider shots, and you really see the dance on the porch. And it's a large variety of different porches that have been used. You know, as Mayumi was saying, some have stairs, some are just flat right into the front door. And so that's the landscape you would be working with. Hopefully that helps.
Yes,
Mhm.
thank you so much.
And maybe just to finish that topic for the moment, the piece is meant to be built at the site so that it can be responsive. The choreography can evolve because of the site. Very different from building a piece in a studio and pasting it into an environment. So these are all commissions to build a work on the porch and front lawn in the site itself. So that might help in terms of what is site specific for us.
Yeah, I think at this moment we'll move forward in the application, but there will be more time at the end to ask questions so we can revisit if there's more clarity needed on that. So yeah, moving on through, we talked about idea, and then the next section is participants. So you'll see the questions here, but really about who and why do you want this idea to be with community members? And then also that question of why is this idea site specific? And it's also very okay to say, I'm not sure yet. That is part of the application process, that you'll have more discoveries as you actually create on a porch. But naming some of the ideas that are floating around for you, some of your curiosities, is really helpful to get an insight into that idea that you're working with and what's driving you forward in it. So that's speaking to who. And then again, you can answer written or as adding a file, either audio or video. And then the next section is about context. Why this idea now? Does it impact your stage in your life or your career, the community impact to the people who are involved, and then the larger impact, whether that's socially, politically, culturally, or otherwise? And again, you can answer either written format or adding a file. And then video support material. So we are asking for examples in 3 different areas. This can look like video. It can also look like audio or video, or sorry, web page links, or a letter from a past community member that you've worked with. So those again are the details are listed just under each item of what best suggested. If there's something within that you're like, I really have a great support material that doesn't fall into those categories, we're absolutely open to different support material coming in. And you can do that yourself, or you can email me and just double check, is it okay if I send this instead of what you've requested? And I see Diane has a question as well, if you'd like to
Yeah,
jump.
sorry. Yeah, it goes back to site specific. And is there, so I guess a question about geography. So you talk about a porch, but where does the porch have to be? I see this is in Seaton Village. Is it have to be, you know, because I'm thinking of like Dovercourt or Dufferin Gardens, somewhere around there. Is that, or can it be further out depending on what participants are? So geographically, where could it be?
Absolutely. Wonderful question. And I see Karen's ready to go.
So this year's Porch View Dances is absolutely within the confines of Seaton Village. And we actually, Allen and I curate the houses. So once we curate the houses and we curate the choreographers, then we match up which choreographer, which proposal would best suit which house and which porch and so on like that.
Oh, okay. So you're going to find the site, and would it mean that the people then, of course, that belong to that house?
So this year,
Is that how
uh,
it works? So
this year, the choreographer will apply with folks they have, or with having in mind people, participants that they will bring to the performance, to be in the performance. So we won't be matching you with performers or people in a house. The house is actually the stage that is lent to us now for the performance. I don't know if that makes sense. Alan, you might be able to say.
yeah, so yeah, I wasn't sure because I had an idea of two different houses, and you know, but if I don't have to do that, then it makes it, I don't know, easier or not, I don't know. Okay. We bring
Yeah,
our own people,
Yeah.
we provide the site,
Yeah.
we provide the ideas,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right, got it. Thanks.
Super. Yeah.
Exactly. And one of the things that we look at when we're designing the route for Seaton Village is also, first of all, you know, who's willing to give up their porch for the performances and rehearsals, but also how is the route? Because we've had some people invite us to use their porch, but their porch is way up in the corner of Dupont and Bathurst that doesn't quite align with the full route. So we try to find houses so that the audience, their journey is within a very accessible.
Yeah, it's really close by. So what are the boundaries of Seaton?
Seaton Village. It
Yeah.
runs from Bloor to Dupont, Bathurst to Christie. But usually we've never gone to the perimeter, like we're not on the main roads. We stay within Seaton Village, so inside the streets from Clinton to Markham, and from London up to Palmerston Garden, you know, one of those streets, Vermont. And then Porch View always ends at Vermont Square Park, where the whole audience is invited to participate in what Karen created called the Flock Landing.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Mhm. I also think it might be helpful to name that it goes, typically the route is like one porch, the audience travels, there's a vignette that happens that's sort of a site specific, sort of along the path, and then it goes another porch, a vignette where they're traveling and sort of stumble upon another vignette, and then another porch, and then to the park that Alan just mentioned. So yes, that's a really rough route. And then Vanessa has a question if you want to jump in.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for taking in my question. Essentially what I want to know is if we're gonna be able to know what the specifics of our essentially our boundaries are within the houses that we are gonna be performing at. Just because I want to know if we are able to elaborate on the kind of choreography we are able to perform with it within, you know, the boundaries of the house, but to have, you know, staircases, you know, porch and whatnot. I just want to know what the boundaries essentially are so that we can develop a work that we can be proud of, and not only that, but essentially exploit our own essentially boundaries.
Yeah. I mean, Alan or Karen, you can also jump in, but the audience can't enter the house. They do view the work from the sidewalk. So typically, like, yes, consider your audience as being stationary to view what's happening on the porch. And then it is specific to each house and each choreographer, what areas you might have delineated with them. There will be specifics once you're matched with that porch of understanding what areas you can use. So your idea will adapt as you get to actually mount it on the porch. That flexibility can be one of the most exciting things about Porch View, in my opinion, that you really get to be responsive to, oh, this is the house I'm working with. How do I want to shape my idea to fit it? So.
And may I add to that, the houses generally are already in place. We're just finalizing them now, so that by the time the choreographers are invited to be part of it this year, then we know where the houses are, and everybody, you know, we do a little walk and things like that so that people are familiar and whatnot. So there's no surprises theoretically, unless you want to take over a whole whack of front lawns, then that becomes something different.
Yeah. I think also naming that that's why the on-site rehearsals start from June 1st
June.
to July 14th, so that there's a 6-week duration that you really get to be in the space. And rehearsals would be set up by you as the choreographer with your performers, so you can determine when you need to be in that space, and we would support you in facilitating the scheduling with the homeowners. Yeah, Diane.
Hi, yeah, so I guess it's what I anticipated, because it looked like it was very participatory, and that it would be the kind of thing we have a general idea, and then as we see the site, then we be a little bit more specific, right? Like it has to be a general, okay, got it. Okay, that's what I figured.
And that I think it's more that your idea evolves, that
which is
you can have,
exciting. I think that's what's really
exactly.
exciting. I'm really interested in site specific. My work is always it's the site, it's not even music.
Yeah.
So really looking forward to that.
Wonderful. Great. And I do see we have some chat questions. So just reading out that Angela has asked, does any music have to be copyright and royalty free? And I believe Alan has, or Karen, I'm sorry, I'm not sure because your names are the same in the chat, that we have a SOCAN license, so all music is invited.
Yeah, the principal issue, unfortunately, with the music is that if we're going to post anything to YouTube, then that becomes a different issue. But as an outdoor free event, with our SOCAN license, we can use any music.
Great. Wonderful. So let's, one more chat question. Oh, thank you from Angela. Beautiful. So moving on through our application. The video support material I spoke to, and again, just to reiterate that if you're finding that this is a barrier in your work, that you don't have a lot of support material, please reach out to me, and I'd love to make that work for you. So yeah, just naming that we don't always capture the beautiful work that we do, and if that's an issue, please don't let that be a deterrent to apply. The next section that you'll see is confirming what dates you might be available to meet with me. Once I have reviewed the applications, I will consider meeting with folks if I have additional questions, or if they're applications of a particular interest, and just getting a chance to chat it through and ask questions, get to know each other a little bit more, hear more about the idea. It's not mandatory in any way for everybody. That's why I have the dates available, so that if I'm like, oh, I do need to speak to somebody, that I can easily book that. You would know probably the first week of March if those dates are needed, and I can also be flexible to that if you've had a conflict that has come up since you've sent in your application. So, but that's generally the timing that I'm aiming for, between March 11th and 16th. And then the next section, are you able to attend the Porch View Dances meeting? So this is a great time to name if one of those dates doesn't work for you. Again, don't let those deter you. We are open to shifting things as needed. There are things that can't shift, but we might be able to find a solution to your participation. So please be as transparent as you need to be in letting us know those things. And then the next two questions, the next two questions are not meant to, and really the two questions above too, are not meant to affect the outcome of your application. They're more information for us to clarify and know moving forward. So in this question, we're asking about mentorship, and mentorship could look like from either Karen, Allen, or myself in supporting you in your creation process, or if there's someone else you'd like to work with, not work with. I'm getting this wrong, aren't I? No, that's right. Okay. Sorry, the differentiation between the two questions. So yeah, if you're interested in receiving creative mentorship from either the three of us, that's something that you could name here. And then the following question is about if you're available for someone else to be mentored by you. That may look like they attend your rehearsals and then you schedule some discussions outside of rehearsals with them. These are things that we're interested and curious about, but that we don't have confirmation that it would happen. So this is a way of us understanding, if it were to happen, are you interested in it? And again, it won't affect the application outcome. And then the last thing is an open space for you to declare anything else that you need us to know, whether that's accessibility needs or questions you have, or anything else that you think is really pertinent to your application that we haven't asked. We've done our best to ask all the questions possible, but we will miss things. So if there's other things that you think are really important from your context, from your specific perspective, please let us know there. And the last thing that I forgot to say at the beginning was just to speak to the actual assessment process for the application. That I, as curator, receive your applications. And then I have selected 3 additional juror members: Michael Caldwell, who Karen spoke about and was a previous curator; Shannon Kitchings, who is a wonderful regional artist that does much site-specific work, and has a really well-rounded lens that I really admire. And then Kin Nguyen, who was one of the presenting choreographers last year. So I've picked people that have a really great understanding of community work and site-specific work, and that they will review your applications, score them. I will meet with them, and to get a better rounded perspective. It was my way of understanding, what am I not seeing? So to have other people to bounce ideas around with, understand other lenses to see the applications through. And then after that meeting, I will present to Allen and Karen to say, these are my top picks. We're looking for 3 choreographers. So these are my top picks, and then we will move forward from there. So that is a bit about how you'll actually be selected. And I'm just going to review my notes to see if there's anything else I missed at the moment. That is the application process. So this is a wonderful time to open up the floor to any questions that may still be lingering. And if there's anything else that needs to come up in this moment. Yeah. Yes, Diane, go ahead.
Yeah, it didn't seem so, but I was just wondering if there was any particular theme this year, or if you ever do that.
Yes, there is a theme. I am working on that. I don't have it confirmed yet. Part of my interests are seeing what ideas folks are coming up with, and then seeing what the thread might be through them. So I'm curious about allowing people to come forward with what their burning passions are, their burning curiosities, and then see what stitches those things together. So there isn't at the moment, but there absolutely will be. Mm-hmm.
Mayumi, did we also just want to talk briefly just about the mechanics of, I know you talked about porch to porch, but there are a few other things in play there. Would you like me to bring those up just a little bit?
Yes, that'd be great.
So every year, as you saw in the video, there's someone who's a tour guide, and the tour guide is the individual that helps lead the audience through the streets. But in order to be safe, we also apply for a parade permit so that we can officially and legally close off the street, even though some of the neighbors scream at us. It doesn't happen very often. And so we have a bike squad by a local bike company in our neighborhood who helps keep the audience safe. And especially when we have audience sizes of around 200 to 400 people, they really fill the road. And so the bike squad, the tour guides leading us through, and so everything is kept within a very ideally comfortable place. So, and I'm not sure, Karen, if you want to talk about anything else.
No, not on that, but thank you.
Okay, and
we do have a thumbs up from Vanessa, and then we have a question from Diane. Go ahead, Diane.
Yeah, okay. So is the group, so you're saying there's about 200, and I thought, is it all, like, do they all follow a parade and then, or is it, okay, so because so because it's not a stage and it's not raked, and you know, how do people see? Like, what do you, like, there's just, wow, okay, go ahead.
So the audience sits on the street and across the street, and the streets are closed off. So everything is seen And it's actually super explicit I think if you watch some of the very short highlight trailers,
Right.
it'll show you exactly how it rolls, how people see it. They sit down, they watch. The streets are filled with people and they can all
It's
somehow
amazing.
see
And
it.
then the music, I mean, it'll have to cater then to that, you know, whatever, like if we've got sort of musicians or whatever, got some different ideas. Then I guess rain, because it looked really beautiful. But what happens when it rains? Is
So
there
two
any thought
things.
to that?
One about the music is that people are welcome to bring musicians and so on. There isn't an extra budget for that.
No, I know.
Just
Yeah,
wanna
music
make
and
that
yeah,
clear.
and costumes.
But in terms of rain, we used to have rain dates. We no longer have rain dates, but we have a 5-night run, 5 show
Got it.
shows
Okay.
in a row. And so when it rains, it rains. When it doesn't, it doesn't.
Okay.
And usually, I mean, we've only been rained out a night or two, if at all. But that's just the luck of it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and that's another thing that Porch View provides is we have a stage manager, we have assistant stage managers. We bring in all the sound equipment. So, for example, last year, Ken and AJ had a DJ, and the DJ was located on the porch. And so we hooked his whole system up with our speaker system. And so everything is cared for as much as we
Oh,
can.
okay. So if we're providing music or musicians, but then you provide, I don't have to bring my own speakers, for example.
You do not need to,
Oh, okay.
unless you really want to, if they're those giant, you know,
Some
apartment
kind of
size
AV
speakers.
yeah, no, okay, thanks.
I think there's also a note that this is a bit of out of left field, but just that choreographers are required to be there at every night of the performance. I can't remember if I said that or not. But if there's a night that you're not able to attend, that is something we could work through. So the reason that is important is so that you can support the performers, and then also if there are changes that need to be made from a night to a night, that there's a chance for us to connect with you to iron out any issues that may be happening. Yeah, just so to make sure that that is named as well. And we have 2 minutes left. If at any time there are questions, my email is all over the application, but it is mayumi@ariscorporate.com. I'll also put it in the chat box. And you'd be welcome to connect with me, and I'm happy to chat anything through. And yeah, if there's any other questions that are coming up, please let us know, and we are available. Nice. Thank you, Diane. She says, thank you. This is very informative and exciting. I'm so glad. It's such a unique experience that it's so important for us to talk these details through to really give a scope of what it is that the performance is, as well as then what we're looking for other folks coming in. So thank you for listening. I'm just going to give another 2 minutes in case there's anything else that comes up. We can also chat amongst ourselves.
Yes. Well, one of the other things that we do is once the route is chosen, we have Bren Roy, who's our disability advisor, who then comes through and will observe the routing and give suggestions. In the past, if the route was too long, Bren would suggest cutoff point for some people who may need to not be able to do the full route, but just go right to the park. Usually on the Sunday, excuse me, we have a number of wheelchairs available and volunteers with those wheelchairs, and that we do ASL on the final show, so that if there's people with very specific needs that they would like addressed, we do our best to care.
Yeah, one more question. I guess so that, as we're asking dancers to get involved, and do we need to tell them, it's just it is a 10-minute thing. So do they, but the whole, do they have to be there for the whole thing, which lasts, I don't know how long, or will we know sort of in advance, you be here from whatever time to whatever time? you know, so they don't, like, sometimes they'll have more time commitments or time, you know, so we'll know in advance a little bit more.
Yes, you will know in advance. We'll have a specific call time that we ask all performers to show up to, and please
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, Alan or Karen. There will be a specific call time for everyone to show up. And then depending on where you are in the program, it is ideal for them to stay until obviously the end of their performance. And then slightly after that, in case there is something to touch base with. But I think that if you're earlier in the program, we could release you at the end of your piece. But if you are later in the program, obviously just stick around. And it's also, I will say, it's such a beautiful evening to end all together. So the preference is absolutely to continue with the rest of the journey, connect with other folks. But if it's not possible every night, that's okay.
And in this past year, and every once in a while, we have years where there's younger performers that have bedtimes. And so they have asked to be early on in the program, things like that. So we take everything into consideration as much as possible.
Sorry, and it's listed, right? I think you listed it what the time frames are, I think generally is, yeah, okay.
Performances are at 7 p.m. So by summertime, that is still pretty light outside, which is nice. That's why it's at that time. So by the time the end of the route happens, that we're not in complete darkness. But dusk has started to set in. So yeah, like, would you say that the show is generally an hour and a half?
Yeah, I would venture
Yeah.
to say it's about an hour and a half, but we do ask the performers and whatnot to be there an hour before the show so that everybody is set up. You know, sometimes we have people coming in from, you know, Oakville or to, you know, wherever, so that everybody is there on time and prepared.
So they should be there around 6.
Yes.
And then until their performance, and then it could be till, gosh, only knows, right? Until when? Okay, thanks.
Usually it runs about 90 minutes max. We rarely go over that time period. And also on Sunday, it's a 2:00 show. So it's 7:00. All the tech, the dress, the performances up to Friday are 7, and then Sunday is 2:00.
And I'll just add that often some people can trade off and come and basically hang out at the Kaeja hub if they don't want to be at the porch until their time. We figure out ways to make sure people are comfortable.
Wonderful. We are at time. So I want to thank everybody for coming today. This recording will be available on the Kaeja website by Tuesday. So if you have anything that you'd like to review from it, you can definitely watch the recording again. And again, let us know if you have any questions. We are here to help, and no question is too small to ask. We want to make sure that this is as smooth of a process and that you get to shine as who you are and what you have to bring. So
thank you so much, Mayumi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
everyone.
Mayumi,
Thank
and
you,
Jessica and Alan
Jessica.
and everybody for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.